Welcome friends to another r/maliciouscompliance video. I was looking at my statistics and it turns out that only one of you guys aren't subscribed. So if you don't want to be the one holdout, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. That said, our first story of the day is by Moby Dick. Don't clock out late? No problem. I worked for a hotel chain restaurant as a busboy and had lots of other little side jobs besides working the floor, mostly helping to move stock off of pallets and stuff like that. Sometimes I would clock out a little late if shipments came in later, or it was a busy day plus large shipment, always guaranteed another hour on the clock. We got a new manager who looked at my time card during her first fortnight as a new manager. She was real aggressive with me, asking me why I clocked out so late, like, "So what's up? You playing video games on the clock for an hour? You just hanging out, getting paid?" The rec room had video games. I explained that I was unloading pallets and she said, "You're a busboy, that's not your job. You clock out at 9, we have a payroll to make, and we can't do it with people working extra hours because they didn't work hard enough during their shift." Okay, fine. Finally, about a month later, it was summertime and we get this really late delivery of a bunch of dairy items. The head chef received all and then had me start unloading it. This is at 8:45 p.m. I told him, "Chef, just to be clear, Miss Weatherby said that I have to clock out at 9. Chef says, "Well, I need this thing unloaded." I say, "I've got 15 minutes and then I get in trouble if I'm not clocked out." Chef says, "Do your best." 8:46 p.m., go get the dolly. The dolly was taken by the banquet people, so I find it and start moving stuff. 8:53, first load on the dolly. 8:58, unloaded and back to pallet. At 8:59, I stopped what I was doing, left it all there, and walked directly to the punch card machine. 9 p.m. on the dot, I punched out. The next day, I got a call from the hotel's general manager asking me why I left all of the dairy on the pavement. It was left out overnight, and hundreds of dollars worth of stock was spoiled. I say, "Yes, I had to clock out at 9 p.m. The GM says, "Did you think it was a good idea to leave the milk outside?" I say, "No." They say, "Then help me understand why you didn't put everything away." I say, "Miss Weatherby was very specific that I was not to clock out late to unload pallets." She said, "That's not my job." The GM says, "Did it occur to you that the chef needed to know this?" I say, "I told him I needed to clock out at 9 p.m. The GM says, "We've lost hundreds of dollars and wasted all this food." I say, "I would like to go back to the way it was, instead of having to clock out right at 9 p.m. on my evening shifts." GM says, "Don't do this again. Clock out when the job's done." The outcome? Nobody ever mentioned it. And from then on, I clocked out when I needed to. Not a real juicy outcome, but it was still nice to have happened. If you had a general manager yell at you and say, "You have to clock out at exactly 9 o'clock, would you be willing to stick to it and leave all of that dairy just sitting there on the pavement, knowing the fallout's probably going to find its way back to you one way or another? Or would you sacrifice and still put it all away? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Cole Carmit. Think of what the customer wants? Sure. I can't believe I'm writing this, but here we go. We got a 2-for-1 special on malicious compliance today. I work at a print hub working the printers and adjusting files and such. I put in a lot of work to deliver a perfect product, despite the issues that plague the shop, and always ensure that everything I produce is quality checked. This isn't due to me putting pride in my work, however, but rather my boss nitpicks nearly everything. If something is off-center by a millimeter, it's redone. If there's a small scratch on one poster in a pack of 5, the whole order is redone. Now, don't get me wrong, the boss is a good person, not a Karen or anything, but sometimes we have to redo orders several times to ensure it's done to her expectations, which is absolutely fair. She's the boss and it's not too often she does this. Anyways, onto the incident. I just learned that I'm supposed to run a one-shot D&D session this weekend. Short notice, have maps and everything to set up. It's a long story why this is last minute, but it doesn't pertain to the story. As a result, I quickly pulled out one of the dungeons I ran in my regular Dungeons & Dragons group, a galleon ship trapped in time, where the players need to manipulate the environment to have the crew open or close doors, and turned it into a one-shot adventure. I call it The Time Between the Seconds. Since it was last minute, I didn't really have time to optimize maps, so I just sent the order through my job's online submission, with the intention to just print out a pixelated mess just for the sake of having visuals. It's the way I DM. I like having visuals for my players to help them envision the area. Today when I came in, I found the order I submitted and completed it quickly. Admittedly, it was a bit of a mess, and it didn't help that our color machine started leaking toner again, blue streaks on the paper and everything. Whatever, I'm fine with it. An hour later, while I was working with posters, my manager, let's call her Kay, came into the room. She started. Kay holds up my order and says, "What is this?" I say, "Oh, that's my job, Kay interrupting says, "How can you say this is good? It's pixelated and the machine dumped toner on it." I say, "Kay, it's okay, Kay interrupting again says, "It's not okay. You have to contact the customer and figure out how they want to proceed." I sarcastically say, "Trust me, I'm sure the customer won't mind. Look at the customer name." Kay says, "It doesn't matter. I want you to see how they want to proceed. Think about what they want." I sigh and say, "Yes, Kay." Kay dropped the order in front of me and left the room. I considered my options for a moment and looked towards my dwindling workload. Screw it. Malicious compliance number 1. I finished my assigned work and got to work on the maps. As I said, I didn't properly optimize them or anything, so I started working through the 5 11x17 maps I had, smoothing out the pixels. It took about an hour to get everything set up. Normally I work on a program other than Photoshop for my maps. After that, I went through the character sheets, filling in any of the blanks I left in, such as personality, bonds, and gold. About 15 minutes. Then what about any random gear they may have? A big part of this one shot is their carrying weight, so I calculate those totals up, another 20 minutes. About an hour and a half later, I have the files up to the customer standards, which is mine, and I print them out again. But the toner dumping on the color printer is still an issue, so even though the files looked a lot better, there were still blue streaks in the paper. So when Kay saw it, Kay holding the completed order said, "OP, what are you doing? You know the color machine is down." I say, "I know, but I can't wait for the machine to be fixed." Kay considers for a moment before speaking, saying, "Call the customer and explain the issue. See if they'll accept it half off." I say, "That isn't needed cause..." Kay says, "Just do it." I take a deep breath and say, "Stay here, please." Malicious compliance number 2. I picked up the office phone, looked her dead in the eyes, and dialed the number on the order form. From my pocket, the Silver Samurai theme from the Phoenix Wright series began to chime. I take my phone out of my pocket and answer, immediately saying, "Yes, I will take half off my order." Kay was speechless and just quietly walked out the door. To her credit, she did honor the half off she offered the customer, but perhaps next time she'll actually let me finish what I'm trying to say instead of constantly cutting me off. Don't get me wrong, Kay is a good person, but today was a harsh day on everyone since our machines are having issues. The only one who was able to get anything done was me since my printers, the wide format, and the drafting machines were working properly. I'm sure tomorrow we'll have a laugh over the situation as the machines are fixed now and stress levels have lowered. Honestly, as somebody that's never played D&D but always thought the idea was kind of fun with the right group, OP Story's kind of like making me think about it in the back of my mind a little bit. I think the worst part of it though is the setup, because you have to create the characters and their backstory, then you gotta specify all their items and things, and it just becomes almost like homework to me. Our next story is by Neurothic. So you want to be kept up to date about your son's behavior? No problem. I teach, have done so for the past 13 years now. Most parents are just fine. They care for and love their children and treat me and my colleagues with respect. You have the occasional parent you don't see because they don't care, the helicopter or curling parent, and the parent who doesn't believe they're raising Satan's offspring. The latter is the one I have the misfortune to deal with for 2 fluffing years. I was a mentor of 20 kids in their first 2 years of secondary school. It has its ups and downs, with the biggest up that you know every fiber of every kid, and 2 years of relative heck if you had kids who were a nightmare. Kids started secondary school with me as mentor. He started out alright. There were some minor things that were normal for a teenager trying to fit in. It all started after the Christmas holidays of that first year. Nothing special happened, it's like a switch just flipped inside this kid. Bullying classmates and other students, pushing around, being extremely disruptive in class, cursing at teachers, grabbing things up to the point that we suspected he stole things from teachers and students alike, but lack of security cameras were a problem. Mom and Dad were invited many times. School counselor and my boss sat in on many of these conversations. Mother denied and that her son didn't do such things. We didn't get any further but had no grounds on expelling the son. Summer break came, and due to the fact that a lot of things went missing, cameras were set up. Classes started in year 2, and first day he let me know he was there and had changed for the worse. We had 5 calls with mom in that first week alone. Mom was invited once more, and she was then surprised that I was the only teacher complaining. Like, what the actual heck, lady? Did you not listen that multiple teachers complained through me and that I told you multiple times what they said to you? No. She demanded that she get a call or email from the teachers herself if her son did do anything, and I quote, "But I highly doubt that since I know my son won't ever do the things you said." Fuming at this point, I said I would talk to my colleagues. Cue the malicious compliance. Mommy wanted a call or email from the teacher who saw her son doing or saying things he shouldn't? You ask and we get it. Kid was being such a jerk by now, he was well known throughout the school. So in the next school-wide meeting, I told her demand. Some frowns here and there, but then I saw it. Eyes glistening, evil grins starting to come along with the evil laughter of teachers. By this time, the kid had set a record in the digital student entry system. 20 entries a day from him alone. It all started the next day. Kid came onto the school property, walked up to a classmate, and started insulting him and his mother with cancer. 2 teachers heard and saw him do that, so 2 teachers sent an email to Mommy Dearest. 3 periods of lessons with a variety of terrible behavior. 3 emails were sent yet again. During first break, kid threw a bin through the canteen. 3 teachers and the custodian saw it. 4 emails about that. Then the custodian emailed again, telling that he refused to clean up after himself and threw a chair before leaving. Another 5 periods for that day with 6 teachers, science had 2 teachers, so you guessed it, 6 emails and 3 phone calls to Mommy Dearest. Mommy got 15 emails a day from the teachers alone. I had the immense pleasure to call or email every day to give a recap. Every email was sent with a red notification, so every email Mommy had to click on that message every single time. After 2 weeks, Mom called and the conversation went like this. "Yeah, I saw the emails, this is getting a bit much now." I say, "Is it? But the last time we spoke here at school, you demanded that every teacher and every other worker at school would call and or send you an email about the goings-on of the kid. We're simply adhering by your request to be kept up to date, and that you can hear from my colleagues personally." She says, "You can stop now." I reply, "Unfortunately, we can't. Since kid does all these things, it's our duty to keep parents up to date on what their child does at this school. Also, you requested it and we don't want you to get upset by not knowing what's going on with kid." The mom says, "This is getting out of hand." I say, "Is it? I don't think so. My colleagues even said they like it so much that you're such an involved parent and that you like to hear from them. Thank you for that. Bye now." Click. This went on for another 8 weeks. Mom called or emailed a couple of times a week and got the same response from me and other teachers and personnel. It went like this until the kid screwed up on a big scale. While we were busy getting all kinds of help around the kid, he finally bombed every chance to stay at our school. Kid decided that shouting, cursing, insulting, and wishing the worst possible diseases upon my colleagues and myself weren't enough anymore. When I wanted to talk to him yet again about his behavior, he picked up a chair and decided to hit me with it in full view of the class, a colleague, and the cameras. The kid was tackled and pinned down by classmates. Colleague called the cops, who have their lovely station across the street, got the kids and kid, and I managed to get away with no broken bones, but some big bruises. School filed charges for me. The fun part is that I got to sit with Mommy Dearest and Dad, and even then, she tried to deny that her son would do such a thing. Until she and Dad got to see the footage. The look on their faces was priceless. I wish I had the permission to record it so that I could watch it time and time again with a soda and some popcorn. Kid was expelled, got some hefty community service, and a fine. Normal here. Got a juvenile record as well. To answer a likely question, where was Dad in all this? Dad was apparently kept in the dark about what kid did. The emails were sent to a shared email account, but since email on phones wasn't a thing back then, he never saw the emails as she hid them. Dad divorced Mom as apparently she had been spitting a lot of lies about a lot of things. The good part? Dad felt so sorry for what his son had done that he sent care packages for all the personnel at the school. The best part? We didn't have to deal with kid or the mom ever again. We got his brother though, and we continued the emails and calls with Dad to tell him what a wonderful kid this boy was. So sadly, it definitely seems to be a case of an entitled mother just not raising their kid in the right way, not giving any kind of discipline. The kid was allowed to just grow up and be as awful as they were, and it just compounds every single time because no one's stopping them and they're probably getting exactly what they want from mom at home. So it just keeps reinforcing this nasty behavior until it's just too much. I feel bad for the kid in regards to their mom, and I feel bad for the dad for being left in the dark. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel, and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.